Okay, I should actually start the video here too. Welcome to all of you that actually listen to the podcast. I really don't feel like a host, and as you can see when at the end, these are not edited in any way. It's what they are so that the exchanges are authentic. That's tribe that's showing up. We have some new initiates this week that later, hopefully, they'll want to share. And Nick and I already have a little bit of history. He kind of stumbled over me. I don't know if it was at the conference last week, which that could be a whole topic on its own, what happened there, because, oh my God, what kind of energy left that place was amazing. But Robyn started getting on a rant, and I want to go back to that so that we actually capture that type of content. So, honey, do you remember where you left off?
Do I remember where I left off? Oh, well, what I was saying is my guides tell me, been telling me for quite some time, but they tell me that to always record, and I try to record my channeling. I try to record when I'm speaking with my friends, but they tell me to always record, because even though that we are hesitant to stand forth and speak and be seen, to always record ourselves in our conversations, because you never know. Hang on a second. You never know who is.
You never know who you're going to trigger.
You never know
next.
who is we are divine beings, and that we are. You never know who is going to be triggered by your light, your essence, that is needing to step forward in their light, who's seeking to find resonance in your light. That we are beacons of light, and that are there to hold resonance of energies, to bring forth energies of others, and find others, and bring forth the blueprints of their DNA on their, say, online, and help them find the clarity in their essence and their vibrations, as they don't know what they're seeking, but they're seeking something. And we are shaking, as I'm saying shaking because I'm shaking, as we are hesitant to show our light and our vibrations and ourselves, our faces, our essences. It is important for us to speak in our true essence of vibrations of love, so we can find those that are wanting to understand who they are.
Well, they're more like finding us.
Yeah,
I think we all agree that the time for us to change people's minds, that's past. That no arguments. And really the subset of people that are awakening in, like me, this research I've been doing lately to find out when people can mindfully remember that something really shifted in their metaphysical life. And I keep coming up with this 2 to 3 year window, largely. Not saying that people haven't been walking this path for a long time, because many people we are familiar with have been, but that doesn't account for those of us that keep waking up like this. And then what method is it that we find one another? Now, the conference went a long way, I can tell you that, last weekend. It's one thing to sit on this side of the screen. I had never met Alex Collier. I'd been at a couple conferences with him, and I sat in on a round table with him once, but I really hadn't gotten a chance to sit with him. So this time I did. Before he was going to open the conference on Friday, we were sitting in the green room together. And I figured, he's an old hand at this. I don't know. He's been around this for 30 years. People have been following him. So I asked him how he was doing. He said he was nervous. He said it's one thing to sit on this side of a Zoom screen with everybody on that side. He said it's a terrifying thing. When we looked in the room, even the night before, when I'd gone in for sound check, and you sat in the back of a room that was set for almost 1,000 people, this is a little intimidating. But I can't deny the energy that was in that room. As soon as you crossed over the threshold that went from the pre-function area into the space, it just expanded. Oh my God, it was like that the entire time we were there. You could pass in and out of this main room. And there was a room across immediately that they used for, breakfasts and coffees and stuff. And it wasn't the same. I don't know what compressed it all in that room when it was there, but the setting was perfect. And the content and each one of the presenters, man, they were charged from another place.
Yeah. He's a kind man. I met him in Shasta. We visited. I sat down. I had a big burger, and he was sitting there with his dog. And I sat down, and so we just shared conversation over how delicious my burger was.
But that's Alex. There are people in this community that are not in this for fame and fortune, and people get triggered by it. Alex is just a sweet guy, and he'll sit and talk to anybody.
Oh yeah, he's just a kind soul, and we just sat and chatted and visited about nothing really, and then he got up and went about his merry way. Everybody was wanting to shake his hand and pine him for information, and we just sat and talked about my burger.
That's what he'd rather do.
I know.
When does he get to be just Alex? Because he's been living this for a long time.
Yeah. But how was your conference?
Amazing.
How was it? Yeah.
It was amazing. I was scheduled to be the last speaker on Friday. And part of me thought, I know what it was like to sit in those chairs all day long. And man, butt fatigue, it was going to set in with other people. I really expected that the room was going to thin out by the time it came to be me, because people had been there all day. Really, most people started showing up around 8 o'clock. I think the conference really kicked off at 9, and everybody had started with Alex and went from there. The whole day was interesting, and you really didn't want to miss out on anything. So when I started, and because of where I was, and that there was going to be a Q&A following, I had like 45 minutes on the clock. So how am I going to compress what I need to download to all of you in that amount of time? In the end, it was fine. I got an hour or so. And even when we're through it, Danny just kind of looked at me when the clock, because there was a clock in front of you telling how much time we were. Danny went like this, just keep going, because there was about 15 minutes left. But it wasn't going to be about Telos this time. And I know that's really what Danny wanted me to talk about. She had an agenda for this conference. She wanted people that could speak about, off-planet things. She wanted people who could talk about inner Earth things and the surface. There was a mindful agenda that she had. And so, what role I was going to play. So we had a couple of conversations before the conference, because even the year before, when I had presented at the conference that really Danny and I met one another for the first time, it was a couple weeks before that Kumu had come along and crossed my path. And okay, Lowell, Telos you're not a one and done. That's not the only story you're ever going to tell. We're going to put you in contact with light beings. We're not going to tell you really what that's about yet, but we're going to put you through it. And later, the following year, as it turns out, now you'll know why. And the conference was going to be the first time when all of that information was going to come together. Telos was my experience. And I share it anytime. I love to tell that story, and it's miraculous and it's crazy and it's real. I'm telling you, and everyone else can get there, but that was for me. The light being interaction was for the rest of you. Here is where that activation that took place, where, we've been told forever that benevolent beings that have been around us all this time, just waiting for us to ask for their assistance, could not interfere. Well, we know how we got around that now, because we began to show in the 40s with World War II that we were capable of doing really stupid things with the planet, like dropping nuclear bombs and hydrogen bombs. And, as soon as we demonstrated we could do that, that's when they stepped up. If you really start to analyze the linear timeline to all of this, it's when Blu-ray children started to reincarnate. Early 50s. Well, I was born 54. When I, backtrack and start to look at what happened then and my behavior and what's happened over time, yeah, it made sense that I incarnated to be here for this specific purpose. That trip to Telos wasn't an accident, because I was a Lemurian. And I just implanted myself on this side of the realm. So when the shift took place and reintegration with the surface was going to take place, I'm already on this side. Yeah, that was how we were going to help and heal the planet. That was how we were going to bring more light here. But none of us knew any of that until I was happy running hotels and casinos. Yes, making good money and having a good time. But there was something else that was supposed to be done. And now that we know that Earth is in a cosmic cycle of her own, that it really doesn't matter what we think is going to happen. It's all about to change. This 3D world we've been living in for a long time is about to change. And now it's our job to prepare those that we can. So when those photographs were taken of those things with me, and they were told in terms I couldn't understand back then that these are for your portfolio, the conference was the day I finally got it. I had mindfully chose a few people that I shared that with. And Robyn can tell you, I didn't blast that out there for anyone. It wasn't meant to be like that, that when the time came for people to really see what happened, and not just hear a story, but see pictures associated with it, that there wasn't going to be any room for, it wasn't unbelievable anymore. That the things that we all asked for, the miracles we wished to see and the demonstrations we wanted to see, well, Lowell brought some with him. So I showed that to about 1,000 people. The room was full that day and there was standing room only. I didn't really expect that everyone was going to stay, but they did. Now, I was not a headliner, but I certainly made an impact on the people that were there. I could see that there's a certain amount of it. And it was wonderful to hear Elena Danaan speak about the technical side of things that are going to be reintroduced. But I don't know how many people that were there that really resonated with and what it meant to them. Where in my case, I got to show you how I integrated with light beings, that those are 6-dimensional light beings that made physical contact with you. And the story you get to carry away is I'm not the only one. I was the first one. The rest of you are about to be called and you'll be activated in the same way. There is DNA repair that's about to take place. The manipulated stuff is about to be removed from you and replaced with your original human blueprint. And while that's being done, because the nature of the light that's coming our way is more intense than we have a physical capacity for, it's also being changed so that we can hold more light in higher frequencies. We have been living in our bio field in this incarnation in 3D density, what's called half Orionic light. What's coming our way is full spectrum light. It's going to help assist us in our consciousness and every other sentient critter, but it's been coming at Earth now for a while because she's in this cycle. If I told you, and I said later this week, I'll start to reveal more about the golden tie allotments. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a coincidence that this document was placed in front of me like the week before the conference. I thought I really understood the mechanics of the ascension process. Pretty much had it in my head how this was all going to work. Well, I was close, but now I found documentation that crossed every T and dotted every I. And the window of time that they mentioned in there, and I don't say this to alarm anybody, and that's why eventually the news will leak out. But in order to stop people from freaking out, if I told you that 30 years ago, it was in the 80s, that this document had been channeled and written down, that the window of time is between 2015 and 2025. And now, if you just think about all the solar activity and phenomenon that has been building over time, if you pay attention to the Schumann resonance and you see the changes in the frequency on Earth, you've got to see that as evidence of what is to come. I live in California, about an hour north of San Francisco. And we had an earthquake here a month ago, 5 weeks ago, in an area that it's never had one. And then I think the week before last, there was one closer in the Bay Area, a 5.1. Now, that has not happened here. It's just more evidence of the phenomenon that's taking place. And when we take this additional higher frequency plasma that's coming at us from the sun, here is how Earth responds to a charge. We're electromagnetic beings, as is she. And so, when these phenomenon happens, something has to modulate that energy. It's what we've been waiting for a while as humans. We've been eons of, this stupid suppression. And in my mind, there's no other way we're going to achieve the end without a reset. I can't pick one topic. I can't think of one thing where the extremes in our duality got to be so extreme that I can't think of one thing that would bring everyone together. The only thing that's going to do that is a reset, and the reset's on the way. So our job now is to ready people who get it. When we continue to find more tribe like this is just an opportunity for us to all get on the same page. Because as these activations are going to take place, not everyone is coming to Lowell because he seems to be this magic man who's been all around this stuff. So the only place I can learn how to activate is going to him. No, that's not true. Not at all. I am going to activate others. And then those people are going to activate others. And that's how the circle grows quickly, because with the amount of time we have left to prepare, that's just really how it needs to be done. And it's no secret. We don't want it to be a secret. It's not some magic formula that only some of us deserve. I've been saying this all along. I'm physically no different than any of the rest of you. My DNA has just cracked open earlier, and maybe to serve as a trigger or a key for the rest of you, but that's the role I get to play. It's still a little unnerving because I never wanted to talk about any of this. No, I still would just as soon shut up and never speak so that I didn't have to be judged, but that's not the deal I made. And when I continue to focus on what's on the other side, I've seen the next civilization, my friends. Oh my God, it's what we've been waiting for. So I just focus on that and that alone. And the rest of the white noise, I know it's just going to be white noise. Politics, war, all of it, all of it. We're going to be done with it pretty soon. There's still, I used to see it as a day when, you woke up and you're in this present environment. And whatever phenomena was going to take place to, trigger that in the next moment, you were in this next dimension. Well, you can straddle dimensions like that. But it turns out what I read, and it totally resonates with me, is that at the very end, there's a 15-day window. And it's really there, not for those of us that are ready and know where we're going, know what ascension is, and are stepping into that power. It's for everybody else that might not have lived their life that way, and still in the end, sovereign being with free will, have the opportunity to make this choice. The thing is, if you choose not to ascend and you want to learn more 3D lessons, you're just going to have to do it elsewhere, because Earth is not that anymore. She doesn't hold 3D density anymore, and that vibration's gone. So hopefully your vibration matches when she does, and that's the drum we've been beating now for a while. People need to understand how their individual frequencies affect their connection to everything else. So that's why when we started with fundamentals, start with yourself. And guides keep saying, tell people, tend to their own flames. Tend to their own flames. Get yourself right, and the rest of it will fall into place. We've been conditioned for so long on what we think 3D life is supposed to be like: family, work, church, hobbies, you name it. When we really understand who we are and what our power is and what we can do and co-create, man, as beautiful as Earth is, and it is, wait till we can co-create the things that we want on the same planet plane. Yeah, that's what we've been waiting for. So I will shut up for a while now. And I know Nick's got a topic, but I wanted to give Olga an opportunity, because anyone that's listened to every podcast we've ever done deserves some time.
Well, and they're also saying, you know, when you're opening up your vibrations and your light is expanding and your essence is expanding, make sure that you're letting it flow the way that it wants to flow into your divine essence, and letting it go where it wants to go, and not worrying of where others are flowing. Make sure it's expanding into your divinity, because your essence and your blueprint is yours, mine is mine, and our lights are expanding and interacting and bringing online and interacting and brightening each other. And so your light expands and brightens mine, and mine expands yours, and so on and so on and so on. And so it doesn't make my light Lowell's light and your light Robyn's light. It just activates and goes, hey, look at Lowell, you know, your light, we recognize each other, and it brings online, and then it gives us permission to shine, and it's like, oh, I forgot that part of my light, and it just opens it up. So we don't try to mimic each other's light. We just open up, and it bursts forth our own flowers, our own stars, or our own gardens of our own essences. So just let it expand into you. They're saying your own garden of your own soul.
Agreed. Well put. Miss Olga, anything you'd like to contribute?
Do you mean on the topic that you're discussing? I agree with everything.
No. Any questions you might have, here's your opportunity to enlighten us.
Okay. I prepared one question. I'm really interested in the past life regression, and I know that you did that based on the information that you provided to the world. And I was wondering, how do we find some trusted yes person, so how to do it, where to do it?
That is a really good question, because there's a lot of people out there that claim that they do it. And back when my metaphysical side wasn't nourished as well, and you've got nothing but your discernment on your side, you got to go through a lot of boyfriends before you pick a lover. You know what I mean by that? I don't know that was really why I used that one, but I ended up finding somebody that I had trusted. Her name, I'll tell you, Amira. She goes by Amira Atlantis. She's in Hawaii. She's had an interesting, colorful background, but something triggered within Amira too, and she just resonates with Atlantis. She's a mermaid in her mind, and when you listen to her after a while, she's connected to something else that's undeniable. She has offered to do those types of things, and in the end, the month before I went to Shasta 2 years ago, I had heard enough about her that we had arranged to have a session together online. So it was in June. So all those questions I had about Atlantis, and you can't help but understand Atlantis and who I was and what role I played there without having some sense of who the Lemurians were. So that was where the only reference about Lemuria in my current stage of remembering, that was where that was. And Telos was, by the day I got to see Telos, the only thing I knew about that was I'd seen it on the cover of a book earlier that week, and that was it. So there's lots of things that are coming back to us. I think that there's great value in people that want to pursue that to find out who they were before. I was having this discussion with my beloved yesterday, and I'm not sure that she's ready for that yet, and wondered, well, if I'm not interested in that, does that matter to you? And no, you're a sovereign being. I just like to be the observer and to see, what others do and who they were back then. Because I have some memories of people I've crossed paths with. And I can tell you that once you all do, I know all of you. And there's a sense you're all going to get when we spend time together like this, that we all knew each other too. Well, it's true. In the next realm, the angelic realm, where we go back and reincarnate every time, we're all one there. We're all family, or we're all friends there. We just set up for the next assignment when we come back into this thing where, you have to forget everything you ever knew. And hopefully by the end of this incarnation, you've remembered enough to climb back out. Well, that cycling's over because we don't do that anymore. There's no linear time left for it anymore. And really, and now I'm more comforted than ever when 2 years ago, I came to the conclusion that I was going to be here during the shift. I came into this incarnation within this lifetime to be here to witness it. And I'm not a spring chicken. So the clock is ticking.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'll keep it in the back of my mind and see what comes my way eventually. I can introduce a little bit myself. I've been familiar with Master Moria, Archangel Michael, Violet Flame for 30 years. I am from Russia originally, and when I was a teenager, I was introduced to that. There was a spiritual group there that were interested, and I was part of that group, and that's where I got that information from. And then for many years, then 15 years ago, we moved to United States, myself and my family. So it always been in the back of my mind. I always have like a portrait of Master Moria, and I have been calling on him and Archangel Michael throughout my life. So once we immigrated to US, it takes time to adjust to the country, to learn the Swiss language.
Can I ask you a question? Was your family, was this a topic that your family had, or this was something that occurred to just you?
It in my family, where I was born to, it was just me. It was just me. Only now, my father is about 80 years old now, and right now, when he is approaching that age and he has questions, and sometimes he's trying to put some pity on me that I'm here and he's there, and my mom, they are back in Russia. I introduced him to all this. I tell him, okay, you need to read this and you need to read that, and death does not exist, in a simple language. I was trying to both of them actually come when they get sick a little bit, they get frightened that the end is near. And at these moments, I'm trying to put some seeds in their minds that this is not the end, so that when this what's the word? transition. When the transition happens to you, the life will even better. Sometimes they laugh, sometimes they think that I don't care, but I'm trying to come across that I do care about their feelings, but I'm trying to also introduce them to that concept. Yeah, so it was just me. And that spiritual circle that I found at the time, back in Russia, then I kept the books throughout these 30 years. I kept the books, I kept the prayers. And about 3 years ago, it coincided with the time that my children grew up and I got more time for myself. I began looking for the society in United States. For the same, with the same points of view. I know, I always knew that people are there. I just needed to find them. And interesting, so actually I knew from my time, I knew about Shambhala. I've read the book about legends of Lemuria and Atlantis. Again, also 30 years ago, and I still have that book with me. I brought it with me as one of the valuable books that I wanted to revisit in my life, and I did. Yeah, so and that in the last 3 years, as I got more time on my hand, I began searching. So my keywords were actually Master Moria, Archangel Michael. So in that, and I came across Telos books, with that search, with those Lemurian keywords and Master Moria, Archangel Michael. And the next dimension, I came across Telos books. I got all of them, and the book, The Seven Sacred Flames. So I've been reading them. And then I came across a podcast of Lauren Gailey. And this is how I learned about you, Lowell, through that podcast about your Telos visit. And I listen regularly at Lauren Gailey YouTube, recordings and podcasts, and now yours. So for me, it resonated with me, all the information that you've been talking about. I realized that Shambhala and Lemuria are of the same kind. It's the city in the fifth dimension. So yes, I came to that realization because they've been talking about the same characters, Archangel Michael and the Master Moria and Saint Germain, that as so all that stuff. So I've been in that, but now it kind of reactivated for me. Yeah, I purchased this summer, I purchased a painting of Mark Stensas. It's a Milky Way and Mount Shasta. Are you familiar with that? Stensas?
I am.
Yes, yes.
I am.
Oh, yes, I also came across his work, and yes, I got this beautiful photography of Mount Shasta and Milky Way. And one day I really would love to go hiking in Mount Shasta. I really
Everybody does, don't we, Robyn?
Yes. I have a daughter who is 23 now, and she's with me in all these teachings. She was very receptive, and she's reading the same books that I'm reading. My son, he's a man, he's a boy, he's listening, but more on the observing side. He is not getting into any active action, I would say, reading books himself, so he's in his own world right now. But yes, my daughter and myself, we have deep conversations about life and the fifth dimension and all that stuff.
That's good. That's the hardest part, when you get an awareness of all of this around you. You need help. We're human beings. We need to figure it out. Our brains need to make sense of all this. And as you already know, some of these things we don't have the capacity to make sense, and we weren't meant to. But we asked to see miracles, and here's why in most cases I would rather just shut up and never say anything, because when I talk about these miracles that I don't know that I invited them, but they showed up nonetheless, and I start to tell others about them who again would love to see interesting phenomenon, and then they say no, that couldn't have happened. I don't believe it. You can't take it any further than that. So I came to terms with that immediately. And I'm asking the rest of you, just on your own behalf, sovereign beings, just consider that too, that you know what's true. And I look for authentic people to hang with. As you might imagine, there are a lot of other people that are starting to reach out that would like to hear me or spend some time and they ask me questions. And that's what I'm here to do. And that's my role. But I can tell that my time is going to become more finite that way. So doing these things that can be recorded and then put out there over and over and over again, I have a greater appreciation for them. I did not see podcasts as that. I really, when I chose to do these, it was an opportunity for a bunch of people to get inside our Zoom room and here's your shot. Let's ask some questions. Really, this information was meant for way beyond me. I don't know how it was going to get communicated, but that seems to be working itself out. I never gave any thought to the recorded versions that people would be able to go back to later. So I had to think in different terms too, and I appreciate that. Because when I was searching, oh my God, did I want to find somebody like me that could explain it to me? There wasn't anybody. I did find a couple of Telos support. Diane Robbins, who wrote 3 books about Telos, was one, and she was wonderful. And Asara Adams, who's been channeling Adama and Lemurians and other, higher beings for a long time. You have to find people that you resonate with first. When I learned more about who Asara was, because she was like me in more ways than I really understood at the time. I had heard, here's this woman who channels Adama allegedly. And when you heard it, it was profound. And when it comes out of people that way, you know that this is coming from somewhere else. Because if our human brains were to articulate the things that come out of us now, we would want to stop, edit it, think about, we don't have time. It just flows through you that way. Robyn was talking about just kind of allowing things to come through us. That's what happens. And God forbid, you start to get asked to let other aspects flow through you. Yeah, because that's a new thing for me. I had to really lean on other people that have done it, and thank God they've come along. But now that I'm supposed to channel some higher beings, higher aspects than myself, I hear them come through. When I listen to myself now, I can tell when they've pushed me out of the way and here comes whatever they have to say. But it was meant to be said now. The things I know that I presented on the stage, last Friday was just that. They pushed me out of the way with information about the reason those light beings were there. And the reason we were showing these pictures was to put you in those pictures. See yourself as Lowell in those pictures because you are next. If you resonated at all and you're sitting in this room, you know all this to be true. And I'm just here to bring a different aspect to you and tell you how quickly arrangements need to be made, preparations need to be made. And there's nothing you can do. You're going to be drawn to some specific areas. What I'm going to start to talk about this week, these golden Taya allotments, I understand now that there are areas of the Earth's surface that are being prepared for us for the time that this shift takes place. We're being drawn to them without thinking about them. It's not surprising. Shasta is on the list, as is Sedona, as is parts of Egypt, Greenland, the British Isles. It's interesting for me to see what's been allocated. So there are 2 things that are happening. First of all, I keep hearing people that said they've been just drawn to move to Hawaii, and they did. Took their whole family and they all kind of vibrate. But within the last 3 months, here's where they ended up. They didn't really understand why, but here is some reasons. It's not just that they're being drawn to those areas, as those are kind of the designated safe zones when this happens. there are also people that are going there to clear these areas, to prepare them for it. So when we hear about Cindy going to Egypt and Peru and all the things that this is part and parcel. When Robyn takes off and she goes out in the woods and drops her light, it's the same thing. So now you understand when we talk about anchoring your light, this is what's going on. You are a vessel. You're an electromagnetic being that has the ability to reach beyond this dimension. We have that inherently. And now you're getting super light coming your way that, whether you realize it or not, is being cellularly ingested into your little physical being. You aren't going to be a carbon body much longer. Your body is being prepared to change to crystalline form, where, it won't be this. I can promise you, it will not wear down in less than 100 years anymore. You will look flawless. And anyway, that is what we have to look forward to. And those physical changes to this metaphysical side of ourselves we're still exploring is real. You can feel when we're getting CMEs directed at us and solar, corona blasts that are coming our way. If you tune into the knowledge of when those things are happening, you'll begin to see them line up, because I can feel that energetically. Oh God, we had like an M-class flare again yesterday, and I can feel that. So would you if you paid attention to it. And especially you divine feminine women, you've got to be feeling these changes that are taking place that you just don't understand where they're coming from, but you're connected to all of that. Yes, here is more evidence. I'm sorry, did you want to say something, Olga?
No, I said I agree. Yes, we do feel them. Yes, we just do not know what we are actually feeling. Sometimes it's that you don't feel well. Sometimes it's low energy. Sometimes it's great energy. So we feel it. I guess that's on my side in terms of energy level. Yeah, I've heard there is an eclipse, or they call it, when the moon covers the sun on the October 25th, and another one is on November 8th. And this period, these 2 weeks, also a little bit like heavy, or how would you say it?
They're energetically charged, yes.
Okay, energetically charged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Olga, the energy right now is I wouldn't call it heavy. It's giving you an opportunity right now to remove what is not serving you. It's opened up the energy in you and the planet, and she is shedding what is not serving her also. So if you're feeling a lot of heavy energy, Mother Gaia, Mother Earth is shedding a lot of energy right now. So you may feeling that flowing out of you, because she is shedding a lot of energy, what is not serving her. So it gives you an opportunity to sit down and center yourself and let go of things that are no longer serving you. So opens up your divine essence to bring in more of your divine being. So when we are full of what's not serving us, where our etherical field, our auric field, our bodies are full and clogged. So when we open up and let those things go, then we allow think of it as skin pores. So when we do a facial, we open up those pores to allow more of our pores to radiate more shine. So clear out your blackheads.
We purge in a lot of different ways, and when we've got to displace energy that's coming, you're nothing but a little capacitor. There's energy coming in and you're expending it all the time. And now with elevated levels of photon energy coming, that's why these adjustments are being made to our physicality, so that we can hold more light and we can hold higher frequencies. That's what's taking place. Everything is trying to be elevated, and those of us that are triggered by it at least have an awareness that we know what to focus on. Robyn did a good job talking about frequencies and feelings, and man, that's it. Get in tune with that. That's understanding your vibration. You need to do that for yourself first. It will definitely benefit you, and as a collective, it benefits us all.
Yeah, yeah, got it, got it. Thank you. From those astrology talking, so the two things that I took away that in this period, the brain might be foggy and it's not recommended to make any important decisions. So the recommendation was stay away from making any long-term important decisions.
That's good. That's good 3D advice. But your intuition's already kicking in. And if you're following it, your brain seldom gets in the way anymore. And that's good because there's pure programming. Part of the stuff that we're purging right now is old programming. It is. You're getting downloads. We all are. If you're paying attention to, especially, ringing in your left ear, that's indicative to me that I'm getting spiritual downloads. And I'm on like a constant flow now. All I can do is kind of just either make it louder or clear. It's always on.
I do have it actually for short periods of times. I believe it's a left ear, but it's short. It's maybe 30 seconds. It's not long.
But they're getting to me more frequent, I would guess. Would you say that that's fair?
Maybe in the last few months, yes, I've heard them more often than in my prior life. Yes, I would agree. But I never paid attention to them. Only recently when I've read somewhere on Instagram, I believe, it came up that ringing in the ears indicates some energy exchange or something related to this energy coming down from the fifth dimension or something. So I began paying attention to them. But prior in my life, I remember having them, but I thought, okay, something is wrong with my ear. There is something that I don't understand going on. Okay, just,
I was led to understand what I get in my left ear were spiritual downloads. And looking back on the things that have happened, that aligns. It was the right that said, well, those are physical changes. And until recently, again, I didn't feel anything, so I didn't know. Until recently, I underscore that because now that when this kicked in and back in September, whatever activation took place when Toth showed up, I began to pay attention to the physicality of the changes because something in my mind said, when people begin to want to ask questions about, what it physically feels like, those were the things that I wanted to be able to understand. It's a feeling. We're humans. This is how we read things. It's not really words anymore, especially when we're vibrating at this rate. We want to connect with something that we get a feeling from it. Well, now I've identified those things and I was starting to get those out. Now I'm finally getting it ringing in my right ear. And then I could tell you what it felt like when the solar phenomenon was heightened. I felt that. And now in my mind, I can see almost my cells, my DNA has already been repaired. The manipulated stuff was removed. It holds higher light, higher frequencies because there's full spectrum light coming at me, full blast now all the time. My body's just taking it in. And when you realize it's doing the same to you too, well, now we can harness that and we can put it to good. Because really what we're here to do is transmute negative energy into light. Here's how we're going to do that. That is what got past to me the day that the light being showed up. That was what got past to me.
Well, and Olga, you can ask when you hear those frequencies, what messages do you have for me at this time? And jot them down if you get a message. I'm deaf in my left ear, and since 2017, and I have not stopped hearing frequencies in my left ear since 2017. And I hear music, I hear talking, and I can actually quiet myself and I can imagine a dial in the back of my head and I can turn it up, I can turn it down because sometimes it's quite loud and I'm trying to sleep. And so I can ask them to turn it down a little bit. Or if they're talking, I can hear talking and like there's a party going on in the other room and I can turn it up and I can kind of listen in and kind of hear more of a conversation. But it's really lovely when I can hear music, like I was just in, putting my makeup on, and I could hear music, like angelic music playing, like I had my music going in the other room, and they were just singing away and playing, and it's just lovely. So you can communicate to them through that.
But you keep saying in another room. So does it? But then you're saying that the angelic music. Does it mean that it's actually a three-dimensional music coming from another room, or it's actually a music from somewhere, from some spiritual realm coming to you?
They're around us at all times. They're just in another dimension. So they're not like, they're just always around. To me, they're always around me.
Yes, I get this part. Yes, I get. So you are saying that you hear it like it's coming from another room. That's what you are saying.
Yeah, I hear them. They're in my head. They're not. I hear it. Like it's not just in my ear. I mean, I hear it. It's in another room. It's behind me. It's to the left of me. It's above me, below me. It's
So it's like it's coming from another room, for the 3D.
It's like it's coming from another room.
I get it. Got it.
Yeah. So ask questions, and play with it and see what you get.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, I'll remember that next time when it happens.
Well, you're having an awareness. You're starting to straddle dimensions. You can see beyond the third density. That's what you're experiencing. What Robyn's talking about is she hears a spectrum of stuff that when she vibrates at that level, she hears everything that's also at that same level. The things that you see, because your range of visibility also expands. As things are happening, all of your senses become much more acute. And that whole sixth sense, your ethereal body kicks in, then you really feel things. Yes, our fingers were not meant to be the only method of feeling. When your whole body vibrates that way, wow, now you're connected to everything else and you get it. Now you can really understand how I can co-create. And when I do that with others who have unique gifts that aren't like mine and they weren't supposed to be, holy shit, I'm so excited to see where we go next. Because in our minds, we already have fixed what New Earth Star is going to be, what it looks like, what it's provisioned with. And none of this crap that we deal with right now is there. And it's a punt away. I hung around this long for it, but I can't tell you anymore. Just my entire being says that I don't know that we're going to get to 2025 before we finally realize that this plays itself out. That's how it feels to me. So,
yeah, and how you feel is really important. The angelics were saying the other day, and there's the vibrations of feel are not, and how something makes you feel, like the vibration of love is not, how does that feel to you? It's not boo-hoo-hoo, how do you feel? It's how do you feel when you smell the flower, the essence of the lavender, the essence of the rose? How does that make you feel? How does that vibrate through your entire etherical your field, when it vibrates through your entire essence of you? How does that feel? It vibrates all the way through you. It just gives you an essence of oils and essences all the way through you, the feeling of it all the way through you. It's not love of boo-hoo-hoo, cry, I love you. It's a feeling all the way through you.
You do get on a tear when you get out there.
Sorry.
Now, it's wonderful. Here's the thing, most people don't take the time to quiet themselves to be able to understand any of what you just described. And we all wish we did. We want to be able to feel that way, but who stops to do that? Our lives are conditioned. We're so busy with work, family, friends, church, you name it. There's no time to cut out for yourself. So unless you find a way to knowingly meditate every day, start your day out that way, I don't know how you cannot be affected all the rest of the crap around you. Man, it's hard to find grounding when that's what you walk into every day. And more of us that are quieting ourselves know the difference. We're here to influence everybody else. That's right. They're going to catch our light one way or the other and look at us and go, God, something's different about you. What is it? Yeah. So, yes, go ahead, Olga.
I wanted to mention, thank you for posting all the pictures on Instagram of Lemuria, of Telos and the gardens and the Stargate and everything. I already can't remember everything. I'm like waiting for the next one. And
okay, well, I have new ones to go out to today. That's an addiction. I can't help but admit it. I don't know how I found this program, but to me, it's like an addiction. I get this phrase in my head and I go plug it in and I see what it produces. Holy cow, that's my work. I don't know how I did that, but I do love it. Thank you for saying so.
I was wondering how you create them. So I was thinking that, yes, you probably use some tool to create them, but you then compare it to actually what you have seen, right? Because it must feel right. It looks amazing. It looks like it's a photograph. It looks like it's a photograph, a super high quality photograph. And
yeah, that was a gift that came along too. There was a podcast I was invited to sit in on, and one of the three sidekicks that was in there is a guy named Luis, and he's a pretty good graphic designer. Well, he had gone into this program and he had put Telos in. And so he had shown me some things that my jaw dropped. It was so gorgeous. And oh my God, it had an inner earth feel to it that was just amazing. So when he described it, I said, you know what? I've been waiting. I thought long ago that if there was a way that I could pull this out of my head, what I've seen, and let you people put it on like a VR headset, here is what it looks like. And maybe one day something will come along so that I can help illustrate those ideas, because it's one thing to talk about it. And I seem to have an ability to storytell well enough that you can kind of picture it, but there's nothing like seeing it. So when Luis showed me this program and I started to type in, the things that would trigger me about Telos, here were the results. And you're right. Oh my God, this might not have been it, but it's damn close to it. And if you want to really understand it, here, it's cool. Yeah. Then the next thing is, you just think about earth portals and stargates, and all of those things are active, and I'll be damned, they all resonate.
Thank you. Actually, yeah.
If you could share the program with me, I would love to be able to do my astral travels.
It's called Midjourney.
Midjourney?
It sits inside of a platform called Discord. Now, Discord apparently is it's just a big social platform. And if you do any kind of gaming whatsoever, you sit in Discord. All the other games just kind of sit on top of that. Well, Midjourney is it sits within Discord. So you'll set up an account in Discord, and then you'll open up Midjourney, and here is where it's an AI illustration program. You type in keywords and it'll give you 4 suggestions. Now you can either upscale those suggestions or you can create another version. And when you create a version, it creates like 4 more. So you can see where this can get addictive after a while. It's all about the keywords. And the interesting part about it to me to this day is you can use the same keywords over and over. You will never get the same image twice. Oh my God.
Beautiful. No, there is no adjective to describe.
Yeah. Some gifts we just get, they're just laid in your lap. And that was one when I really was my intent to see how can I figure some way of illustrating it. And that was just laid at my lap.
it definitely expands our vision, consciousness. Yes, it definitely. It was mind blowing. Yes, it was mind blowing for me when I saw the first view of Telos Gardens and the Crystal City. It was mind blowing. And then, yes, I got addicted too.
Well,
To-
I've got some more that are coming. Let's see. It was Wizards the day before yesterday, and that was Merlin. That just popped into my head. And then, well, when I put Wizards, some of the ladies said, "Well, I'd love to see some sorceresses." And the first one out of the gate was, "Oh my God, my favorite one." She's like holding this pole with a blue flame at the end, or purple flame. Oh my God, she's wicked. Anyway, I have some. What were they yesterday? I think there were some more inner Earth stargates. So yeah, I'll post some more later today. I will not let you a day go by without me playing something. So I want to give some time to Nick because we kind of scratched the surface on Nick, and Nathalie just joined us. And so if there's Nathalie, you want to say hello?
Oh, I didn't realize I wasn't on mute. Hi, guys.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I just, looked at the clock and thought, oh, Lowell's doing a thing today. Let me go pop on and see see if he's still on.
Usually it's like an hour and a half. Typically, it depends. Sometimes they go longer, sometimes they go shorter. But where are you?
I'm in New Orleans. We've chatted before.
Oh,
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. Well, I like it there.
Come visit anytime.
I believe me, you'll see me again. I love that place. So, Nick, are we going to pick up where we left off?
What would you like to know?
I know that's your agenda, my friend.
Well, I jotted down some thoughts that actually these thoughts got sparked the last time we talked, and then they got sparked again today.
Okay, hit it. I'm going to mute myself.
All right. You asked some questions to Olga about family. And one of the things about myself is that I don't look like my family. I don't act like my family. I don't think like my family. We see the world completely different. I honor them and I love them from a distance, but I cannot be around them for more than maybe 15, 20 minutes at a time.
Nick, I feel the same way about my parents' family and my sister. Yeah, and the other relatives. Yeah, I feel the same way.
And so I've often felt from a very early age that I didn't belong, okay? Not just to my family, but there was something different about me that I didn't belong to this earth. And throughout my life, it kind of comes and goes, maybe a couple times a year, maybe 4 times a year. I don't know. I get this strong feeling that I just want to go home. I just want to go home. And that's, you hear, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody or anything, but you hear Christian people say that, and it means go, they want to pass on and go to heaven. That's not how I mean it. I know there's a place where I came from and I want to go back. And one time in meditation, I was sitting there in meditation, and all of a sudden I got this beautiful image of a galaxy. And I was kind of confused. And I said, well, what's that? Why are you showing me that? And I heard, that's home. And I said, well, what's it called? And I heard this name, Sombrero. And I thought, okay, now I'm hallucinating, right? Like, why? And then I got online afterwards because I'm a curious person, and there's actually a galaxy called the Sombrero Galaxy. And I had no knowledge of that before, none whatsoever. And I saw it in, kind of in a vision while I was meditating, and I went and looked it up, and there it was. And now I have it as a back screen on my computer. So there's that. And interestingly enough, this week I've had that strong feeling like I spent most of the day yesterday with my best friend. We're working on a project together and also watching some football games. He's more of a sports person than I am. I just kind of do it just to be supportive. And anyway, I told him about, I don't know, about 7, 8 o'clock last night. I said, something's got to change. I said, something has to change. I don't want to be here anymore. And that doesn't mean I'm not suicidal. That's not what that's about. It's just that I'm not comfortable in this matrix. It's not comfortable.
They're ascension symptoms. That's the
some-
simplest way I can put it. We know that you've already sensed something in higher dimensions. And when you go there, no one wants to come back to this crap anymore. It sucks to drop your vibration to this level again when things are just wonderful in the next place. You clearly are describing scenarios where you're straddling dimensions too, and now that's all I can call it. So I'll use your examples to describe ascension symptoms to other people, because that's exactly what it is. We know there's something else, somewhere else we belong. If we really expand your openness to think, you're walking down multiple timelines now. We sit here riding in this little biosuit right now with this awareness, but we're doing that in a couple other places. And if we choose to focus our attention on our dimensionality, yeah, you can bilocate there. Yeah, you're still physically stuck here, Nick. Yeah, I get it.
Well, there's, I've had dreams that I can remember ever since I was 3 or 4 years old. Okay, dreams and visions. While I know I'm not what you would call asleep at night in deep sleep. I've had visions. I've heard audible voices, all kinds of stuff. I know I'm a mental health counselor by trade, so I know I'm not psychotic. So anyway, so I've seriously heard audible voices. I have lots of stories about that I could share, but
well, let me suggest this before you go on to you can frame your thinking. And if you don't think this way already, you don't have dreams. Those are all experiences you had. You need to really start to look at them from that perspective.
I was just getting ready to explain that. What I've come to understand about my dreams is I'm traveling. I'm either going back.
That. Yes.
I'm either going back or I'm going forward in my dreams. I'm traveling. I'm going around doing whatever. And oftentimes, especially if I go forward, I will experience that, whether it's a week later or a month later or 6 months later. I end up experiencing that. And I know it's like, oh yeah, I remember that, because a long time ago, I started keeping a dream journal, and I've come to understand. Awesome. I've come to know also that some dreams are just our humanness, and some of them are very spiritual. And I've come to be able to recognize the ones that I really need to pay attention to and remember. And it's easy. It's easy to do, but you just get a knowing, yep, this is one I need to put in the book, right?
Yeah.
So those are just some thoughts that came up while from the other day when you were talking, and then today in conversation as well. But
you're supposed to be in a place where you can expand on that, because you also bring things for us. I love to sit in here, not because I'm going to spew whatever you think is going to come from me in some divine way. There's always something I get in these exchanges too. It's just kind of open up my awareness a little bit more too. Here is the role we play now out, because as I said before, I'm not going to be the only activator. I'm going to show you pictures of how I got activated, but it's my job then to activate you. You don't need to come back to me. You understand the drill. We're all on the same level, gang. Honest. My things have just woken up earlier than yours did, but that's why I'm here to kind of beat the drum. So look, I know y'all get something. Let me tell you what I got and see, we'll compare notes. If it resonates with you, then let's move forward together, because we all need touchstones. love it when someone else vibrates at the same level, and I'm not the only one.
Well,
It's hard to do in the 3D earth, but go ahead.
Another thing that was talked about was feelings. And as a mental health professional, I also have a strong interest in neurobiology and how the brain works. And what I've come to learn is that our human emotions, that some people call feelings, it's a chemical. When we experience information from our outside world, our brain produces a chemical that floats through our body, and we feel something between happy and crappy, right? And so that's just a chemical process on a human level, emotions are. All right. The frequency feelings are different. You can feel those. And when you, I guess like what you're trying to say, if you get quiet and you tune in, you can tell it's something different than emotional feelings.
I'm glad you made that distinction, because while people are starting to try to understand what we're talking about when we talk about feelings, and that's what I was trying to discern for myself. We're still humans. We need to feel it somehow. It needs to be tangible. And that's really the best way for us to assimilate. When it's still this nebulous idea, it's harder to put a finger on it, but that's the feeling I'm talking about. And the one that you're referring to. I'm trying to connect the two, so that the next dimensional things that we feel with our ethereal bodies translated into something that I pinpointed that we can all point to and go, oh, when that happened, oh, that meant this. And the more of us that come to the same conclusions, we get it. The best frame of reference is when just watch solar activity and see how you feel. When you come to the same conclusion that I did after 2 years of watching and feeling, watching the Schumann resonance and how do I feel when that happens? Now I got a benchmark. And most of the rest of us are waking up. Man, wouldn't it be wonderful to just kind of step into that kind of barometer instead of taking 2 years of your own time to figure it out? That's why tribes sharing what they know, so we can try and put it into the best terms possible for humanity to get it on topics that are not meant for us to get in this way.
So that the human body is still in this 3D world. This is just the vehicle that we had chose to transport ourselves through this lifetime. The downloads, I get them. It kind of comes and goes in waves too. I'll have periods of time when they're very, very strong, and then I'll have and quite frequent, and then I'll have times when they're not as frequent and not as strong. But I don't personally, my experience has been is they don't change me as a human being. They change my soul on a soul level. And how do I want to explain this? Well, I had a thought, and then it must have gotten lonely and left.
Well, here, I got one to join it to.
Yeah.
Nick, you've advanced to that level where you have an awareness of that. And even now that I understand that concept, that's going to be the hardest part of explaining it to somebody else. You understand the human part, and now you also understand the dimensional part. And you're pretty good at describing it, but only to an audience like us that have heard it, and we kind of get it. And yeah, we're all trying to we're exploring it together because there's more for us to know. And it's not shared knowledge I'm referring to. This isn't a textbook we're all going to share. No, my God, you're cracking open your own different levels of DNA and what you have in your own little Akashic records that I did not replicate. and no one else replicated, but holy cow, when you have it, what power you just got back is crazy in the first place. And then those of us that all vibrate and know that we're all connected to one another, watch what all 6 of us in these screens, if you see this right now, you took all of our individual gifts and put them together. Watch what the hell we can do together. Because Lowell is pretty freaking powerful with what gifts he's got. I know how Robyn can reach out. I have a pretty good sense about Nathalie. And Nick, I've heard from him, Olga, and I know where Phil is. Phil had tucked away light language for a long time until he's heard it around Cindy. It's his turn to blossom into that. He's going to be a communicator that expands and helps us translate in those terms because it's already inherent in him. But he tamped that down when he was a kid, thinking nobody talks like that. We don't do that. It's just more evidence of what's triggering inside of us to prepare for our part of it. So we know that part of Phil's role is he's going to help be a translator for that type of thing. Because when he finally cracked open and just let go, oh my God, you should have heard this guy just go. Now, it's not like he didn't have a wonderful mentor because he had heard Cindy in the meantime. And when Cindy, who has also only done this for 2 years, I should call her Yaya, but I was introduced to her as such. Anyhow, it's amazing what comes through her, and it's undeniable. When Cindy would reach out to me with these unsolicited messages, giving me instructions, you got to pay attention. Yeah. Now
I remember what I was going to. I remember what I was going to talk about now, and this will be it. I actually wrote a essay on this for another project that I was involved in about transformational experience, right? So, Lowell, you would probably say that your experience on Mount Shasta was transformational, correct?
Yes.
How did that change?
That'd be an understatement.
How did that change your perception of your life and the world, and how you're choosing to go forward interacting with what you're involved in?
I had I'd already come to terms with who I was and that exploration. What Shasta did, I was in touch with my spiritual side, shall we say. When I went to Shasta, hoping to run into an ascended master. That was my intent. I'd heard about Saint Germain, and that's no legend in my mind. I freaking get it. Guy Ballard, in fact, had a physical interaction, and look at all the books that Ballard wrote about it afterward and what purpose it served. Really, it's a blueprint of what we're going through now. They were advanced copies back in the 30s of how to understand the ideas of dimensionality. The earth is not a single dimensional being. She was created as 7th dimensional. I said this before. We just spend so much time thinking we're going from the 3rd dimension to 5th dimension that we neglect the idea that no, we're all trying to get back to 7. That's what she's capable of. There's representation on the earth right now up to the 9th dimension if we wish to get in touch with it. We've been stuck in 3D, and so we can't reach up until something triggered us, and now we begin to have these multidimensional experiences. Telos was my first one, and I didn't know it. To me, it was like this miraculous place I got to go to until you get to look back on it. And more shit happens because we were not one and done in Telos, Lowell. Oh no, I'm going to introduce you to light beings, and here's the purpose for all of that. When you start to map that out and see that you're not the only one, good. Man, here's how I get to contribute. I get to kind of show myself. I heard the word example in myself years ago, and I didn't know what the hell that meant. Oh, one day you'll be an example. Yeah, right. Okay. Example of what? Well, now I know. I'm an example of what happens when light beings interact with us. And, I have pictures to show all of you what that's going to be like. You're going to hear a really outstanding, extraordinary story that you're probably going to find hard to believe. But when I show you pictures associated with it, it's undeniable. You can still argue and not believe it, but I know how much more of my interest you're going to get because there's a bunch more of you that do get it. and saw the pictures and see yourself in it. That's the deal. I wasn't supposed to be the only one. I'm the first one, and show you the rest of you how to get there. And with the clock ticking the way that it is, I'm telling you, more and more of you are going to be called in soon and activated fast, so that you in turn can activate others. That's my gig.
So transformational experiences that change your perception of your reality.
Yeah,
this is what changes us in this human 3D form.
Well, it doesn't change us so much as it just opens you up to things you already know. That's the key. Yeah.
Right. But this is, as a mental health counselor, this is also what I hope to achieve with my clients, because more often than not, now don't get me wrong, there are some people, and way fewer than most people would like you to believe, but some people, a handful of them, do have like a serious mental illness that is probably caused by some kind of malfunction in the brain and the chemical processing and all that stuff, right? But most people are stuck in their perception. And this is why they struggle and experience with their emotions and their life experience. And so I try to help them understand that it is their perception of their reality that is causing the conflict. And I learned this through my own studies about transformational experiences.
Now, I agree with all that.
Yeah.
And from a third dimensional perspective, that is spot on. But here's what I'm going to offer you.
Right.
We don't know what lessons they signed up for in this incarnation. They may have chosen to go through those very things. And it's not for us to judge or even direct without their invitation to do so. Now, I'm not saying that those people didn't come here to learn that very lesson with help along the way to crawl out of it. But again, it's not my journey. I somehow crossed the path for some reason, and I was brought along. Whether I'm going to help that individual or not, I'm a sovereign being, and so are they. And that's where I respect. When they want my help and they invite me to give it, that's it. I know this is just an experiment, guys. We're in a biosuit here playing a role. We know more. We're here to understand a little more duality. You're going to learn good, bad, tuck that away. But we're just about to leave that behind.
So I just wanted to add, I'm very aware of that. And I very much keep that in mind when I'm working with anybody. And even just just people in general, it's like you have to let them follow their path.
Yeah, I can tell that with you, Nick, and I want to underscore that too, because without your dimensional awareness of something more than that, you would be handling it in a different way. You're already aware of the things we've discussed, and you embrace that. So I can tell that that's what you're trying to dispense when you're helping people. To me, you're trying to help them just become more aware of themselves and dig into that. And they need to heal themselves anyway. We all know that the idea of being healed by somebody else is a fallacy now. But the real healers were the ones that kind of held the mirror up and said, here, just look at yourself, because what you put out there is what you get. And that might be another reason for why people go through the things that they do. All the disease we've ever had, we've manufactured and we've brought into our own awareness. When we spend our time and attention on it, we just fed that whole engine. What do you expect to get back? It really works that way. Thoughts become things. It's that simple.
Right. That's all I got.
Okay. Well, it's like we're 90 minutes in. This is almost perfect. So I want to conclude here, but if anyone has any last thoughts, I would love to have you include them. Robyn, is that you?
I just want to say to Nick, as a shaman and a user of energy medicine to remove stagnant energies, it may be something that you might want to explore, for your clients to help them move out of their etherical fields, stagnant energies that are stuck in their energy points, to help them to release energies that are no longer serving them, things that are from their past lives, from their lives here in this realm, in this moment, that are not allowing them to move forward. There's so much that that gets stuck into this body, into these different dimensional bodies that we're holding in this moment, that are not just in this skin, that are from different lifetimes, and that they are dealing with right now that they do not understand.
I'll insert this right there. All right. So number one, already there. When I started my master's program to become a mental health counselor, I was extremely frustrated with the academic approach and the textbooks and everything. I just thought this isn't it. And the relationship that I was in at that time, one day I was reading one of those textbooks and, studying, and my girlfriend said, "Hey, you got to come down here and see this show," right? And up to that point, I really didn't know a lot about energy medicine or anything like that. And I went downstairs and I watched this guy, a documentary with her, it's called Emotion. And I knew right away that was what I was missing, was the energy aspect. And I have taken shaman classes. In fact, I have an appointment with my shaman teacher this coming week. So I'm already there, but I appreciate that aspect of it. Thanks for adding that.
Beautiful. And I would just want to add, I understand, and many of us do understand the feeling of wanting to return home. Even myself, I had a brain surgery in 2017, and I had a profound knowing that I chose to stay here. And being able to walk in both realms at all times, it's a little bit of a struggle sometimes, knowing and feeling all of the dimensional beings all around me, and having, spirit talking to me and whispering and touching me at all times. At first it was very unnerving, but I do know the feeling of sitting down to meditate and quieting myself, and even sometimes just closing my eyes and being transported immediately to the angelic realms, and not wanting to come back to this realm. It's difficult sometimes. So I do understand, and many people do understand.
I get it.
Not wanting to be here. Why do we have to be here? My soul team, my soul group, we talk about this quite often. We chose to be here to be guiding lights for others. And it takes great bravery to continue being guiding lights for others, even though we want to go home.
I hear you. Loud and clear.
Thanks for holding the space, kid. Nathalie, do you have any final words of wisdom for us?
Yeah, it's great that that's what you touched on, Robyn, because that's the part of this conversation that I keyed in on as well. When Lowell started talking about, when you get a taste of that other side, that you don't want to come back. I actually have been studying a little bit of shamanic energy healing myself, but last year I decided to explore some plant medicine, and I used some psilocybin, and had this amazing expansion of awareness and all of these concepts that I was intellectually aware of and accepted on an intellectual level. Suddenly I felt at a very visceral level that I couldn't explain. It was like something I had always known, like I know my name, that I know that this wall is not solid and that we could walk through it. And I know that I was a part of creating all of this and all of that stuff. And it was the most joyful I've ever felt in my entire life. And then at some point in that trip, I was made aware and told, you have to go back. And it was very much like what you hear of people who have these near-death experiences, or they go to heaven and then they're told, no, you need to go back. And it's like, well, wait, what? I don't want to go back. I have no desire to go back. That's like, that sucks. And as soon as I felt like I had taken an elevator, to this higher dimension. And actually that's what Bashar says, the plant medicines in different dosages get you to different dimensions, and they're a shortcut to get you to a higher dimension. And I felt like I had just at some point arrived and was like, oh, this is cool. You know, I'm in a different place now. It's funny. The person next to me had taken the same dosage, was not at the same place. And I remember saying like, let's not go back. Why would we go back? That's silly. They'll think we're crazy if we go back. And then at some point later on, they're like, okay, you're going to be coming down now. And I was like, oh no. And I got this sort of like almost depression sunk over me that I couldn't stay in the state and then I would have to go back. But they told me, they're like, well, we understand, but you've been given a view now and you can take that with you. And it is very hard to hold on to in the day to day, but I have to remind myself of the greater reality consciously, you know, when I get bogged down in the 3D stuff and I have to go back to that sort of headspace and remember, you know, what it's all about, because I'm not able to walk in two worlds just yet. But
none of us can.
Yeah.
Can I say thank you, Nathalie?
Mm-hmm.
Because prior to this starting, my thought was, I wonder if this is a group that I can share my psychedelic experiences in. Because
absolutely,
that is the most profound sense of love and acceptance and transformational change of perception of this world that I've ever experienced. And I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I hope I get to share those types of experiences with many other people.
We can explore that next week. Absolutely. I've had them on my own. In my opinion, it's about what people's intent are when they go into those scenarios.
You're exactly
I was in a
right.
room with 15 people, and I knew that mine was the only one that was spiritually guided. Everyone else had some trauma that they needed to deal with. And as you all know, Mother Ayahuasca will come to the rescue and she will help. I saw amazing things happen to people there, and it's a process for them too, but it is effective. There's nothing recreational about this at all. But if you really want to get in touch with spirit, and that's what drew me to it in the first place, if there was a way I can touch spirit that directly, then show me the way, man, mission accomplished. It absolutely does it. But be careful what you ask for, because she is also going to help bring up to the surface anything else that you need to deal with. And she's a karmic assister, shall we say? Yes.
Yeah. I just finished a conference last week on, it was a 7-day long conference on psychedelic assisted therapy. And they covered the spectrum of, from an indigenous point of view, all the way up to like highly academic, like Harvard, John Hopkins, you know, point of view as well. Now the academic point of view kind of bothers me, because I think they take the honor, they're not honoring the spirit of the medicine as indigenous people would. But I just wanted to put that in there. I just finished that conference last week, so
well, there's exactly the difference.
It was all online.
3D thinking and 4D thinking, because 4D thinking is where the shamans come from, and where they have for thousands of years, and using natural elements have healed people and assisted them in their spiritual growth, as opposed to scientists that want to box us in and then tell us we don't fit in the freaking box. Here, okay.
Exactly.
Well, and it's interesting because, you know, when you start looking about that expanded perspective of how do you get to those states, I find it absurd that, you know, you want to outlaw these things as psychedelics because they get people into this, you know, unnatural state, right? But you can get to the same state by experiencing shamanic drumming or really, really deep, extensive meditation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'll be able to join next week. I really want to, but I'm actually going to be going to visit a shaman in the Dallas area who, you know, she paints drums. I'm going to get my first drum.
Well, we need to. I'm trying to think of this is a little off topic.
Yeah,
there are other people that I want to have, like Dave Wallace. I want to bring Dave Wallace back, but the times that I do these are not convenient. And I was never locked into these times. So I think moving forward, I want to find some times when I'd love them to all be as interactive as possible. but it might be more convenient. And I want to hear your story, Nathalie. So we need to get that down. It might not come that I can't do it at 9 o'clock Pacific on Sunday morning or 4 o'clock Pacific on Thursday. I think it's going to be more important for us to find some other times and just do them. They don't need to be fixed. Again, when I started thinking I was going to do these, it was more to have a rally time where we could all do that in real time. I appreciate now that there's lots more value I didn't give merit to about the replays of the podcasts. So as long as we get the content down, people know where to come to look for it. I guess they're listening, and we need to continue to feed them with what we know. We're the touchstones now, and we're there for everybody else. So it's awesome when you share your stories, because this is an area where none of that is off limits. None of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Olga, any last words of wisdom, ma'am?
It was a pleasure to be part of this session today. Definitely thank you, Lowell, for organizing and for bringing us together, that we can find each other. I have a question. You mentioned the conference that you attended last week. Is there a recording of that conference somewhere out there?
Is there a recording? Is that what you're asking me?
Yes. Is there a recording of that conference of, people presentations, maybe separate presentations or all together? Is it somewhere?
I believe so. I'll give you a quick history of what I know about that. At first, when Danny Henderson was organizing it, it was a monumental task as it was, without trying to figure out video components and recording. Somebody wanted to see it streamed live, and of course I appreciate that. Look, her audience is all over the planet. There were people from Europe and Australia that were going to be disappointed that they could not see the people that were there, because how often do you get all those people in one place when you get to hear Elena Danaan and Michael Sala and Alex Collier? How do you get to do that? And over time, it kind of morphed, I guess, that things just made themselves available. I know that there were cameras there, so I'm assuming that they recorded each one of the sessions. And with that, I know that Danny had made an announcement at the beginning that said they wouldn't be for distribution, but I sense that she's going to break these up into the individual presentations and make them available as well.
Okay. We'll keep an eye. Hopefully something will pop up.
We all do. I would love to hear myself again, because when you're speaking, you don't get to live it. And I really like that there's always something I get out of it, but I would love to hear some of those speakers again. Yeah, Sherry and her efforts with the children, that's just an amazing thing.
Okay,
the whole weekend was smart.
If you find yourself let us know. We will dig the same way.
Well, if you're keeping track of what I'm doing, as soon as I hear about those things, I always post them right away.
Yeah.
But yes, I will. Thanks. All right. Well, I'm going to call it a day. Love you all. Thanks for coming. Phil, you're busy, so you can chime in later, but I will see you again soon. Thank you for your contributions today. It's really meaningful. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Lowell.